Oftentimes, I have clients come to me and say that they feel like they have ribs that are out. This is caused by muscles creating undue tension on the ribs and vertebrae. The first muscles to focus on when we do our work is the Latissimus Dorsi. This muscle originates from the bottom 6 thoracic vertebrae to the sacrum, then spans past the lower 3 to 4 ribs and inserts in the humerus. Start with a foam roller placed on the thoracic spine. You're going to begin by pressing your elbow up to the ceiling and then dropping down to the floor. I like to imagine holding a tray on my elbows that I'm pushing to the ceiling and then relaxing to the floor. Repeat this for 7 to 10 repetitions and then move on to overhead extension. While on the thoracic spine, starting with your palms towards the knees and arms straight, extend the arms overhead, pointing your thumbs towards the floor. To intensify each side, simply roll over onto one side. Try to relax in the tender points. Complete 7 to 10 repetitions with a foam roller in 3 different parts of the ribs. Now we're going to work the Erector Spinae and Transversal Spinalis. These muscles line your vertebrae on both sides. The Erector Spinae is deep, yet even deeper are the multifidus and semispinalis. The deepest muscles connected to the vertebrae are the rotatories and in the low back, the intertransversarii. Start with 2 lacrosse balls and place them by the neck. The lacrosse balls should be touching as you begin to roll your body up, forcing the lacrosse balls down your spine. Do this slowly. You should only press further if you can fully tolerate your body pressure on top of the lacrosse balls. It could take anywhere from 30 seconds to 1 minute before that muscle relaxes. Then you can press with the lacrosse balls down a little bit further. You may need to work gradually through this because your muscle will be so tender you can't tolerate all of your body weight's pressure into the lacrosse balls. In order to create a greater release, do not rush this. It should take cumulatively close to 15 minutes to work your way down the entire spine. Oftentimes, I have clients come to me and say that they feel like they have ribs that are out. This is caused by muscles creating undue tension on the ribs and vertebrae. The first muscles to focus on when we do our work is the Latissimus Dorsi. This muscle originates from the bottom 6 thoracic vertebrae to the sacrum, then spans past the lower 3 to 4 ribs and inserts in the humerus. Start with a foam roller placed on the thoracic spine. You're going to begin by pressing your elbow up to the ceiling and then dropping down to the floor. I like to imagine holding a tray on my elbows that I'm pushing to the ceiling and then relaxing to the floor. Repeat this for 7 to 10 repetitions and then move on to overhead extension. While on the thoracic spine, starting with your palms towards the knees and arms straight, extend the arms overhead, pointing your thumbs towards the floor. To intensify each side, simply roll over onto one side. Try to relax in the tender points. Complete 7 to 10 repetitions with a foam roller in 3 different parts of the ribs. Now we're going to work the Erector Spinae and Transversal Spinalis. These muscles line your vertebrae on both sides. The Erector Spinae is deep, yet even deeper are the multifidus and semispinalis. The deepest muscles connected to the vertebrae are the rotatories and in the low back, the intertransversarii. Start with 2 lacrosse balls and place them by the neck. The lacrosse balls should be touching as you begin to roll your body up, forcing the lacrosse balls down your spine. Do this slowly. You should only press further if you can fully tolerate your body pressure on top of the lacrosse balls. It could take anywhere from 30 seconds to 1 minute before that muscle relaxes. Then you can press with the lacrosse balls down a little bit further. You may need to work gradually through this because your muscle will be so tender you can't tolerate all of your body weight's pressure into the lacrosse balls. In order to create a greater release, do not rush this. It should take cumulatively close to 15 minutes to work your way down the entire spine. Oftentimes, I have clients come to me and say that they feel like they have ribs that are out. This is caused by muscles creating undue tension on the ribs and vertebrae. The first muscles to focus on when we do our work is the Latissimus Dorsi. This muscle originates from the bottom 6 thoracic vertebrae to the sacrum, then spans past the lower 3 to 4 ribs and inserts in the humerus. Start with a foam roller placed on the thoracic spine. You're going to begin by pressing your elbow up to the ceiling and then dropping down to the floor. I like to imagine holding a tray on my elbows that I'm pushing to the ceiling and then relaxing to the floor. Repeat this for 7 to 10 repetitions and then move on to overhead extension. While on the thoracic spine, starting with your palms towards the knees and arms straight, extend the arms overhead, pointing your thumbs towards the floor. To intensify each side, simply roll over onto one side. Try to relax in the tender points. Complete 7 to 10 repetitions with a foam roller in 3 different parts of the ribs. Now we're going to work the Erector Spinae and Transversal Spinalis. These muscles line your vertebrae on both sides. The Erector Spinae is deep, yet even deeper are the multifidus and semispinalis. The deepest muscles connected to the vertebrae are the rotatories and in the low back, the intertransversarii. Start with 2 lacrosse balls and place them by the neck. The lacrosse balls should be touching as you begin to roll your body up, forcing the lacrosse balls down your spine. Do this slowly. You should only press further if you can fully tolerate your body pressure on top of the lacrosse balls. It could take anywhere from 30 seconds to 1 minute before that muscle relaxes. Then you can press with the lacrosse balls down a little bit further. You may need to work gradually through this because your muscle will be so tender you can't tolerate all of your body weight's pressure into the lacrosse balls. In order to create a greater release, do not rush this. It should take cumulatively close to 15 minutes to work your way down the entire spine.
All right, we're going to get started. So thank you for being here. Carol, good morning to you as well. So happy that you're here. Anyone else joining in, thank you so much for being here. We are about to get moving, doing our core day. So make sure you are all ready for that. We just basically lay on the floor. You might have a pillow or a foam roller beside you ready to use. And then we'll go through exactly how to fire your core, make it work the way that it's supposed to, so that way we can prepare our bodies for movement, okay? Every day we do go through our I dedicates here. They stay up overhead as we do our workouts, and then we use this list just to dedicate the time right now. So we'll do that for Lori, and her mom is doing dialysis 3 times a week. Ethan has stage 4 liver and bile duct cancer. My friend's wife with breast cancer, they're healing that naturally, so continue to pray healing over them. Kira also has had a lymphatic surgery, and so praying healing over her and strength. That strength would be gained. And then Jim, her dad, also is in a decline from pancreatic cancer. So continue to pray for them. And finally, Braylee, we were praying for her as she goes through her 15th surgery in, what'd you say, 12 short years? 10 maybe. So pray for her and her family as they continue through that process. Now, our verse of the day, oh no. Sometimes that happens. That's yesterday's verse of the day. Let's make sure we get the new verse of the day up there for you. We wouldn't want to just continually think on the same thing over and over. We want to put in a new one. There it is. That's what I was looking for. Awesome. Okay. Therefore, preparing your minds for action and being sober-minded, set your hope fully on the grace that will be brought to you at the revelation of Jesus Christ. 1 Peter 1:13. I find that very first part to be the most compelling for me, preparing your minds for action, right? It's not preparing our minds for sitting down. It's not preparing our minds continually by always being in a Bible study, right? We're preparing for action, something tangible in the world that we have the ability to go out and share, and that is that grace that's found through Jesus Christ. So we, as Christians, fully believe that. If you maybe don't, that's okay. Feel free to ask questions and have a conversation about it at some point. Now, let's go ahead and jump into that workout, okay? Remember, you're going to need, just like a pillow or a foam roller, something to put between the knees is all we need. And then we'll get started.
2, 1. Pelvic tilt.
Okay, so remember, with your pelvic tilts, we want to perform a Kegel first, so it should feel like you're cutting off going to the bathroom, and then you're crushing that low back down into the floor, okay? So imagine, or you might even have a belt or something you can put under your low back. When you do your pelvic tilt or squeeze, you should not be able to pull that out from your low back. Think of Doritos under your back. You want to crush that Dorito really hard.
That's halfway.
Right? Almost lifting the tailbone off the floor, but don't use your feet. Okay, a lot of times that happens when we try to lift the tailbone up, is we start pushing with our feet to lift. That's not what we want. We want just the core doing the work, okay? So remember, this is the foundation of all movements. Every movement principle that I would ever teach, we need this first. Okay, so get this down.
3, 2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with knee fall out.
Because now the knee fall out, we're going to do the same kind of tilt. Make sure the pelvis is glued to the floor. As the knee goes out, you re-squeeze, bring it back
3,
up.
2, 1. Pelvic tilt with knee fall out.
Okay, and we will drop each side, right? Do right, then left. Always re-squeeze, recompress at both the bottom when your knee goes out, and then also at the top and you transition to do the other side. A lot of times, we're going to end up losing that core just a little bit, and then the hips fall side to side. That's not what we want. Okay, because what we're training is that core can compress while the hips move. Okay? A lot of us go through our day, never think about the core, never squeeze the core, but yet we're creating movements all day long, and it's creating this cross-rotational torque through our midsection, grinding our lumbar spines. We do not want that. Okay? Re-squeeze, recompress as hard as you possibly can.
Three, 2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with adduction.
Okay, tilt with adduction. So compress that core really tight. Squeeze those knees together. Release the knees,
3,
keeping the core tight.
2, 1. Pelvic tilt with adduction.
Okay, so Kegel, core compression, firm, firm, firm. Knees tight. Release the knees, keep the core, then release. Okay? So again, we're gentle with the feet. The feet should not be pushing into the floor, but every time you do a pelvic tilt, you are trying to lift the tailbone off the floor. Okay? Just through the core, not using the feet. Good. Core compression. Tight, tight, tight.
That's halfway.
Again, doing your absolute best all the way through. Squeeze, tight, tight, tight. Okay, making sure that we're able to hold that Kegel and core compression as the knees drop. Okay? When you release those knees, you should still be tight in the midsection.
3,
Okay, as
2,
firm as you can get.
1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with knee toward chest.
Okay, tilt with knee toward chest. This is just a march. Okay, 1 foot at a time. Lift, set back down. While you do it, lift that
3,
tailbone off the floor.
2, 1. Pelvic tilt with knee toward chest.
Good. Core compressed. Okay. Just knee up towards the chest. Again, you're just marching the feet up, down, making sure that low back or the pelvis doesn't shift or move at all. Good squeezes, good squeezes. Doing your best.
That's halfway.
Halfway is a perfect time to re-squeeze the core. Re-squeeze. Doing your absolute best. Compress, hold tight. Again, shoulders down and back. You're re-squeezing that core to ensure that you can move your hips without your core changing. That's the whole point. That's what we
3,
want for
2,
functional movement.
1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with bridge.
And functional movement is kind of one of those terms that is kind of used all over the place. But really, if we break it down simply, what functions
3,
do you use through the
2,
day? That's
1.
functional.
Pelvic tilt with bridge.
Okay, so simple functions that we have: sitting down, standing up, right? Taking stairs, right? Lifting the legs, setting them back down, getting in and out of cars, right? Those are all hip actions that we just did, including this bridge, right? Sitting down, standing up, stepping upstairs, pushing with a single leg, driving a car, our legs go in and out of the car as we get in. But what
That's
does our
halfway.
core do? Do we even think about how the core connects as we do those movements? Because if we don't think about it, it's not going to change. Nothing will be different if you don't apply it to those every single day tasks. Okay, so stay functional. Okay, very good. 10 seconds. Remember, we're pinching that penny, squeezing the butt cheeks tight, right? You want to make one of these pennies.
3,
Whoop.
2,
Oh, penny pinchers.
1. Prepare for shoulder drops.
Here we go. Shoulder drops. With the shoulder drops, you don't want to arch your back trying to get range of motion. Okay, just do whatever your shoulder has.
3, 2, 1. Shoulder drop.
Okay, so straight arm, right? Let the shoulder relax overhead. Then you're going to pull the shoulder back down towards that bra strap. Remember, they should be pinching, right? If you don't feel this in your back right here, you're not pinching hard enough down and back. Okay? Squeeze harder, compressing that core all the while. Again, the big thing here is the core can stay tight without the ribs being pulled
That's
up
halfway.
by the shoulders. Okay? We don't want that shoulder joint to be what's restricted and make up the difference and compensate through loosening your core. Keep the core tight, build mobility into the shoulder joint. Okay? And that shoulder joint will begin to release as you build stability as well in those shoulder blades. That's why I always tell you guys, down and back, down and back.
3,
Get those shoulders
2,
in place.
1. Prepare
Awesome.
for dead bug.
Okay, dead bugs. Remember, spinal compression, peel that tailbone off the ground. As you extend opposites, make sure the low back stays down.
3, 2, 1. Dead bug.
Okay, if you go to extend, right, especially the leg towards the floor, if your low back pops up off the ground, you're extending too far. Straighten your leg more towards the corner of the ceiling, right? You don't have to go all the way to the floor. Just shoot for the corner of the room and then pull it back up. Other leg, corner of the room, pull it back up, right? So wherever your challenge point is, that maybe when you get to that certain point, it's like the low back wants to come up, but you have just enough strength to keep it down. That's where we're going to see the biggest gain. Make it challenging, make it difficult, so that way your muscle tissue has to respond by saying we need more muscle because we're being challenged beyond what we're capable of doing, right? So we've got to be right on the border, okay? Challenge it. Lift that tailbone, compress that core, squeeze nice and
3,
tight.
2, 1. Long rest.
Hey, look at that. Round 1 complete. We have 2 more rounds to go, so we're going to work through trying to figure out your biggest breaking point and then stay there, right? Try to get that going. So round 2, what we're going to do is think 50% of the weight off your feet. So if your feet were on a scale and it said 20 pounds, you're going to pull just enough pressure off your feet that it would read 10 pounds. Okay, that's going to fire the hip flexors, creating a demand on that low back, and it's going to try to pull your hips forward. Okay, so what you have to do is force your core to stay tight even as you start to gently lift those feet.
3, 2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt.
Let's go ahead and get set here for round 2. Again, only 2 more rounds. That was a killer. Yes! Here we go. I
3,
love it, Carol.
2, 1. Pelvic tilt.
We like that. Right, making sure we know that core is working the whole way through. So each time we go to do that recompression, make sure you're thinking lift the tailbone, right? Or scoop the tailbone off the floor, right? You're not lifting your pelvis, you're just rolling the pelvis so the tailbone comes up off the floor. Compress hard, hold tight, right? Pull 50% of the weight off your feet, right? So your feet shouldn't leave the floor, but you should feel those hips activate. If you go to do it, right here on the screen, I show right there, that hip pulls on it and that low back pops up off the ground. Recompress the core, make sure it's stable, then start lifting the feet. Again,
3,
go to your challenge
2,
point.
1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with knee fall out.
Okay, so if you go to lift those feet or start pulling on the knees and automatically it starts to pop up, stop, go back, recompress, do it again. Stop, recompress,
3,
do it
2,
again.
1. Pelvic tilt with knee fall out.
I've had a lot of people in my time doing this work tell me I have no core, which is very, very false. You have a core, it's just you probably haven't fired it, right? So we need to connect the brain to the muscle tissue, and we can only do that through consistent, repetitive demands, right? And forcing the brain to think about how we move. Okay, so continue to do that. Do your absolute best, squeezing all the way through. Halfway is always a great time to recheck. Compress, hard, hard, hard. Right? Crush that Dorito, feet are real light on the floor, little pull, bringing those knees towards the chest, just a tiny bit. Force that core to work harder, right? You should feel it picking up slack. And so if you really pull slowly on those feet.
3, 2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with adduction.
You should feel the tension squeezing even harder in your core, trying to keep that low back down. Okay, here we go.
3, 2, 1. Pelvic tilt with adduction.
So do this together, core compression, Kegel core, knees together, tight, tight, tight. Lift the feet very gently, set the feet back down, release the knees, then release the core. Okay, this should be a 6-step process every time, so think about it. Force yourself to think. Core should be on first, off last. The entire time that you go through that squeeze, relax movement, it should be firm, okay? So compress it, make it as difficult as you possibly
That's
can for
halfway.
yourself in order to see the best change. Small challenge brings small change. A big challenge brings big change. Okay, do your best all the way through. Compressing hard, hard, hard. Just a few seconds, 10 to go.
Three, 2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with knee toward chest.
Right, tilt would be toward chest. Again, as you march, your opposite foot should have a little bit of pull, right? That knee should be coming up to the chest, tiny bit.
3, 2, 1. Pelvic tilt with knee toward chest.
One itty bitty little tiny bit. Core compressed, hard, hard, hard. Okay? Again, opposite foot should be real light on the floor. You're continuing that compression through the core, maintaining a solid spinal brace. Okay? That lumbar spine should not be moving, creating tension and grinding down in that lumbar spine.
That's
And
halfway.
avoid that by building a tight girdle front to back all the way through that midsection. Very good, 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 good. Tight squeezes, firm compression. Your absolute best. Very good, Marcia. Nice compression. Holding tight. Good job, Carol. Finish it out.
3, 2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with bridge.
Awesome. All right, tilt with bridge. Remember, this is the penny pincher. Imagine a penny under your butt right now. Pinch that penny and lift, all the while keeping the core tight.
3, 2, 1. Pelvic tilt with bridge.
Now, the thing I want you to look for is as you return to the floor, your low back, ribs, and hips should all settle at the same time. Okay? You should not go down and feel your ribs and butt touch, but your low back doesn't. That means you extended too far and you started arching your back up at the top versus maintaining your core compression and extending it. Okay? So maintain that
That's
core
halfway.
compression. Again, this is that sitting down motion, right? We're bending the hips, straightening the hips. Compress that core, maintain a firm spinal brace so we can begin to add this to our everyday life. When we sit down, stand up, you should compress that core, maintain a firm, stable environment to create or generate an impulse. Squeeze firm.
3,
Tight, tight, tight.
2, 1. Prepare for shoulder drops.
Makes me think of like torque, right? It's a good thing tools aren't made out of rubber because it'd take a long time to bend all the rubber to build enough
3,
tension to tighten
2,
or loosen a bolt.
1. Shoulder drop.
Right? So when we create torques, we want to be pulling or pressing through something that is firm and stable, like steel, iron. Okay, so that's what your lumbar spine should be throughout movement, is iron. Hold and compress tight. Even when we go through overhead ranges of motion, as we reach, we shouldn't be arching our back to try to reach something. Core stays compressed. Reach through the shoulder
That's
joint
halfway.
as far as you can. And then again, you're always training to pull the shoulder down and back out of the ear. You should be really compressing through underneath that armpit and through your back. Okay, nice and tight. Do not let your shoulders just hang out up in your ears, not thinking about where they're positioned. Shoulders down, core tight. Okay, come on, finish through.
3, 2, 1. Prepare for dead bug.
Awesome. Okay, bed bugs or bird dogs. I'll show you the bird dogs on the screen here. There's a big thing with bird dogs. We do not want to cat or cow.
3, 2, 1. Dead bug.
Maintain that spinal compression, right? So as you extend, it's just like the dead bug, except you're on your hands and knees, creating a balance, forcing your brain to really try to engage and stabilize through the core and midsection. So we don't want to lose that as you extend arm and leg. You shouldn't be arching your back, okay? Maintain it. especially in hands and knees, just think of someone's trying to kick you in the stomach.
That's
Always,
halfway.
always a good way to think about it. Get what we need out of compression. Okay, squeeze, tight, tight, tight. Doing your absolute best. 15 seconds, you're almost there. I want you to re-squeeze the core again, okay? 10 seconds. Recompressing, hold tight. All the way through, almost there.
3, 2, 1. Long rest.
Awesome. Very, very good work. 2 rounds down, 1 to go, and then we're done for the day, okay? So on the 3rd and final round, I want you to think, hover your feet just enough that I could slide a piece of paper under your feet as you're creating that contraction, okay? So again, same thing as what we just did, except we're gonna make it even more challenging. Remember, if you lift your feet and hover your feet and the back just pops up off the ground, revert, go back to just lifting 50% of the pressure, right? Maybe that's even too much. You might go all the way back to just your pelvic tilt. Try to get your brain connected.
2, 1. Prepare for pelvic
Okay,
tilt.
get set. Prepare for pelvic tilt. It's our 3rd and final round. So those of you who just joined us, feel free to jump in. This is a perfect time to get started on that core contraction,
3, 2,
making sure we
1.
learn how
Pelvic
to
tilt.
spinal brace. So again, Kegel, core compression, squeeze really firm, then try to hover the feet. Set the feet back down, release the core. When you go to lift your feet, if that spine pops out, right, we go into a lordotic position, that's what we call it, just arched back. You've lost your core. You're losing compression. We want you to maintain that compression throughout the duration of the exercise, okay? Squeeze, tight, tight, tight.
That's halfway.
As firm as you possibly can. Then shoulders down and back, right? Holding, holding, holding. Awesome, awesome. Very good. All the way through. Squeeze, tight, tight, tight. Shoulders, down, back, down, back. Compressing, firm, firm, firm.
3,
Again, holding
2,
tight.
1. Prepare
Awesome.
for pelvic tilt with knee fall out.
Okay, tilt with knee fall out. So, again, as we do each one of these, you're trying to hover the feet, lift the feet, but make sure
3,
your spine
2,
doesn't shift.
1.
Okay?
Pelvic tilt with knee fall out.
Your pelvis should be firm on the floor. You're doing your absolute best. Carol, keep doing a great job. I know you are. Keep squeezing. Good job, Marcia. Hold, hold, hold. Tight squeeze as you create movement. Very good. Make sure you do your best through the movement, whatever that means.
That's halfway.
It's too difficult. Your back's popping off the ground. Revert, go back. Don't be lifting the feet, but do compress hard. Spinal compression means we're applying that so we can go through daily movements, whether it's the hips going through its range of motion, the shoulders going through its range of motion. We can still contract and control the core to brace and stabilize the spine. Keep it safe, okay? Very good.
3, 2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with adduction.
I'm only a little demanding. Okay, tilt with adduction. 6-step process. We'll do the first one together and then you can do it on your
3,
own. Here we
2,
go.
1. Pelvic tilt with adduction.
Kegel, core compression. Squeeze those knees. Hover the feet off the ground. Set the feet back down. Release the knees. Core should still be tight and release the core, okay? If you lost your core at any point in that exercise, think about it harder when you return to that point. If it's when you release the knees and the core just lets go, make sure you hold it solid for a second, right? Continuing to create or generate synapses from the brain to the muscle tissue
That's
in order to
halfway.
make it fire faster and easier as we create contraction. Right? It should be so simple when we're laying on the ground, we just automatically do it when we stand up and start moving throughout our day. Okay? Continue to do your best. I know this is the challenging point. That is wonderful. The big challenge is going to create a big change. Okay, keep working through it. Good job, Carol. Keep it up.
3,
Job,
2,
Marsha.
1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with knee toward chest.
Okay, here comes the march again as we move the knees. So just like if we were taking stairs, right? We don't want the core to be weak and the hips to be sliding all over the place.
3,
Core tight,
2,
lift.
1. Pelvic
back
tilt
down.
with knee toward chest.
Again, because we're trying to hover the feet, I don't want you to scissor kick through the movement. Okay, you're going to hover your feet, leave one hovering, knee toward chest, back down to a hover, other foot. Up, back down to a hover. Again, choose the challenge that's right for you. If it's too challenging and our back's just popping off the ground, revert. Set your feet back down. Keep them there. Move one foot up and down. Okay. Good
That's
challenge
halfway.
though. Good challenge all the way through. That's where we see the biggest change. And remember, if you have questions, put them out, right? That's the whole point of doing live videos, is that you can ask questions and get a response in order to make sure you're doing this right, okay? Squeeze, tight, 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 holding firm all the way through.
3,
Awesome, awesome work.
2, 1. Prepare
Good.
for pelvic tilt with bridge.
All right, tilt and bridge. Again, spinal compression first. Lift, set back down. Low back should touch the same time as everything
3,
else.
2, 1. Pelvic tilt with bridge.
Remember, do not hyperextend, okay? We're not thinking hips to the ceiling and arching the back. We simply want to compress, control, and use the hips to go through a hinge and straighten. Hinge, straighten. Good, good, good. Tight squeezes. Okay, penny between the butt cheeks. That's what creates our extension through the hips, right? So make one of these bad boys. We like
That's
that.
halfway.
Your butt cheeks are the penny pinchers. Set back down, squeeze up. Again, feet should be shoulder width apart, knees over those feet, making sure we're getting that external rotation through the hips. Okay, very, very good. Keep doing your absolute best. Awesome, awesome work. Finish strong, 5 seconds. We got
3,
a couple more to get
2,
through.
1. Prepare for shoulder drops.
All right, shoulder drops, then dead bug or bird dog, and then we're done. Okay, so do your absolute best. I know you can. Okay, I know you can. Just
3,
stick with
2,
it.
1. Shoulder
Pressing
drop.
firm all the way through. Okay, as you go through the movement, remember your shoulders relaxing on the way up, but you want to contract to pull the shoulder back down and back, building stability through the lats, trying to get our shoulder blade into the right spot where we can increase joint mobility as we increase shoulder blade stability. Okay, so return.
That's halfway.
Halfway is always a good time to recheck the core. Compress hard, hard, hard. Doing your absolute best all the way through. Okay, again, you should not be compensating by lifting and arching your back to try to move your shoulder. Okay? This is all about shoulder range of motion, so do your best through the movement. 4
3,
seconds.
2, 1. Prepare for dead
Awesome.
bug.
All right. Last one, dead bug or bird dogs. Either way, compress that core, get spinal compression nice and flat,
3,
then create your
2,
movement.
1. Dead bug.
Okay, so if you always notice, you will be compressing first, then creating movement. Right? So very intentional focus, brain to muscle. Force that contraction. Make sure those synapses are building stronger and stronger. It's all about the communication, brain to muscle. Okay, squeeze tight. Again, shoulder blades pulling down and back, nice and tall.
That's halfway.
Halfway. Compress that core again. Tight, tight, tight. Then with your bird dogs, do not arch that back or let it fall. Hey, we are almost done, you guys. Do your absolute best. 15 seconds. Go for it. Keep working hard, Carol. Almost done. 10 seconds. Finish strong. Core tight, core tight, core tight, core tight. Finish
3,
through.
2, 1. Long rest.
Awesome. All right, very, very good work, everyone. So appreciate you being here. Remember, we are here to help you learn how to move well and live well. That means we need functional tissue, right? So dysfunctional tissue means you either cannot contract it or you cannot relax it fully. That is a problem. So we do self-massage work in order to release tight muscle. We do the exercises to create strength in the weak muscles, and your body begins to balance and work in a more functional manner. So have a fantastic day. Remember, if you do have questions, always leave a comment below. Carol, awesome job today. I know you worked hard. Anyone else who maybe has not subscribed yet, do subscribe with the little button down below. That will help you get notifications so you can see when we go live. It is Monday through Friday. We do this training free for you, so that way we can begin to change the world and the pain conditions that most are living in. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day. I will see you tomorrow for our total body day.
Oftentimes, I have clients come to me and say that they feel like they have ribs that are out. This is caused by muscles creating undue tension on the ribs and vertebrae. The first muscles to focus on when we do our work is the Latissimus Dorsi. This muscle originates from the bottom 6 thoracic vertebrae to the sacrum, then spans past the lower 3 to 4 ribs and inserts in the humerus. Start with a foam roller placed on the thoracic spine. You're going to begin by pressing your elbow up to the ceiling and then dropping down to the floor. I like to imagine holding a tray on my elbows that I'm pushing to the ceiling and then relaxing to the floor. Repeat this for 7 and then move on to overhead extension. While on the thoracic spine, starting with your palms towards the knees and arms straight, extend the arms overhead, pointing your thumbs towards the floor. To intensify each side, simply roll over onto one side. Try to relax in the tender points. Complete 7 to 10 repetitions with a foam roller in 3 different parts of the ribs. Now we're going to work the Erector Spinae and Transversal Spinalis. These muscles line your vertebrae on both sides. The Erector Spinae is deep, yet even deeper are the multifidus and semispinalis. The deepest muscles connected to the vertebrae are the rotatories, and in the low back, the intertransversarii. Start with 2 lacrosse balls and place them by the neck. The lacrosse balls should be touching as you begin to roll your body up, forcing the lacrosse balls down your spine. Do this slowly. You should only press further if you can fully tolerate your body pressure on top of the lacrosse balls. It could take anywhere from 30 seconds to 1 minute before that muscle relaxes. Then you can press with the lacrosse balls down a little bit further. You may need to work gradually through this because your muscle will be so tender you can't tolerate all of your body weight's pressure into the lacrosse balls. In order to create a greater release, do not rush this. It should take cumulatively close to 15 minutes to work your way down the entire spine.
So you think it could have been